Oh, yeah. We only have about 6 minutes.
Got it.
A flash from Dallas. 2 priests who were with President Kennedy say he is dead of bullet wounds. This is the latest information we have from Dallas. I will repeat with the greatest regret. 2 priests who were with President Kennedy say he has died of bullet wounds.
Malcolm Kilduff, the assistant press secretary, was filling in for the regular press secretary.
That was the, remember, it was only going to be 21 seconds, which is how long the Kennedy assassination. No, I'm just kidding. That was the least funny clip I've ever played on this show. It was the last minute thing to do this. But Tim and I were talking because like the 60th anniversary of the Kennedy assassination is coming up. And Tim and I, I'm sort of coming out of the closet. Like for so many years, I would say like, yeah, JFK, that was nuts. It's not, it's not Oswald. He might've been involved, but there are and people would say like, you're nuts. And then Tim Sabean and I found this in common, and we shared a lot of articles and information and books and documentaries over the years. And this week, New York Magazine comes out with an article like, yeah, I think we need to look at the Kennedy assassination again, because some stuff went down there and these nuts aren't so nutty. So anyway.
Well, I tell you, I'll never forget that day. I was in 5th grade and sitting in the classroom, and the nun came in and said, the president has been shot. And we went to church and went to mass, and, and everybody was kind of really somber. And I remember walking home on that afternoon, and it was a gray, afternoon in St. Paul. And I get home and my mom's on the couch crying hysterically. And I'm like, oh my God, it was starting to sink in that the president of the United States has been shot, and like, what's going to happen with our country? Yeah. And then I remember going to the radio station with my dad, and this top 40 radio station, this vibrant top 40 radio station, is now just doing news and stories and reminiscing about, John Fitzgerald Kennedy and so forth. So it had a really profound impact on me. And then through the years, and then I remember that Sunday morning, we went to church, and I come home, we go to my grandmother's house, and we're sitting in the living room, and all I see, pop, pop, pop. There goes Lee Harvey Oswald down. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Yep. And for a kid, I was 8 years old at the time, I think, around there. And I was like, whoa, doesn't make any sense, because I live in America. This is the safest place on the planet. And our president has been shot, and this disruption with Oswald and then Jack Ruby, and oh my God, I'm like, what the heck? And then through the years, you think about it, you process it, and meeting different people, and I met you and we talked about it. I'm like, oh my God. And it just brought back all of these emotions and feelings. And the thing was, you question it. Was it really Lee Harvey Oswald? And then the bullet on the windshield. And then you see all the, the man in the sewer, and the
umbrella
and all of these theories. And then, when Trump was going to release the documents, the FBI documents, and all the classified stuff, I was like, oh my God, this is so great. But it was just really an incredible journey. But, you figure out, and you started to learn that the deep state is deeper, and it started back then and just has amplified over the years, as we've gotten older. And I remember going to Europe and hearing about Italy, how corrupt it was. And I thought, thank God for the United States of America. But now you're finding out the corruption that we live in and the world we live in. It's really heartbreaking, because I'll never forget my 9/11, which was like a baseball bat in the gut, living out here on the East Coast and seeing that and understanding the people that were involved. And I'll never forget calling my dad up, and I says, Dad, for the first time in my life, I'm really concerned. I'm scared. Yeah. He goes, don't worry. He says, you live in the United States of America. My dad fought in the Korean War. He says, never doubt the United States of America. Never, ever doubt it. And I'm like, really? He goes,
I agree with everything you said. And also the Stern show that day on 9/11 was heavy. Unbelievable. I mean, you kept going, and it was just a surreal broadcast. I remember that day. And Tim, going back to JFK, I had the same. I think we're the same age because I think I was in 5th grade too. And they yanked us in from the playground. And the same thing. I was watching TV next door, and Oswald gets shot, and I ran home to my mother next door. And I said, "You're not going to believe it." Turn on the TV, and sure enough, he had just been killed. But I'm sort of confessing here, like my dad got me into it. Like in 1964, there was a book called Mark Lane was sort of the first guy to write, called Rush to Judgment. And I remember him talking to my dad, and that's what sort of got me started. And I never left it. I find it as intriguing. I also know it's a rabbit hole. It's never going to get solved.
It's just so fascinating and so interesting with and being in the hospital just when they did the autopsy and what happened there. And the whole thing with the fact that, they couldn't get the casket out, and on the plane, the hassle that they had with the coroner, or the
why even do and a guy who was never even a coroner did the autopsy.
And the Warren report. I got to talk to the senator. I forget he was on the show one day.
He was on the show, and Howard cornered about him.
It was just
Arlen Specter.
Arlen Specter. I wish I could have spent hours with him because I had so much to ask him, and because he was on the Warren Commission at the time.
Single bullet theory, man.
Yep. And oh my God, I had things to ask and to, I wish I could have spent hours with these guys just to learn and to understand and just this. Oh, it was just absolutely fascinating and amazing.
Maybe we'll do an hour sometime. I'll get all my JFK buddies on.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Some of them are famous comedians. I'll get them on. Maybe they'll do it. We have run out of time.
So great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. I'll talk to you again this weekend. I'm going to introduce you to Jeremiah. Well, you've already met him, but
make sure I get your addresses.
Yeah. But obviously, great luck with this new company, Sabean. That's not new. Sabean Media has been around, but all these new products and these ideas you've got, they're super interesting. We didn't even talk about what you got going with Secretariat. Anyway, we ran out of time. So, Tim, thank you. Thank you, Dr. D, the engineer. We didn't plug anything. I didn't even plug Sprung on Amazon. I just did.
Valley Farms, Rustic Cuts.
There you go, rusticcuts.com. There you go. Now we're plugging. I'll see you next time. Thank you, Tim. I'll see you next time on It's Radio with TV's Tim Stack.